Hey guys, welcome to another weekend roadie flight adventure with Flight Simulator 2020. I'm excited for this one. We get to go up to the northernmost part of the United States. And that's Barrow, well, formerly known as Barrow, Alaska. It's now Utqiagvik, Alaska. It changed its name late in 2016. I was actually there in September of that year while it was still known as Barrow. I do have some pictures I want to get into real quick. Uh, there's the town of Barrow. Basically, all the streets are not really pavement; it's just all gravel and dirt. Pavement would just break up in the winters there. I believe that's the city administration building. The high school, of course, the Whalers are famous for having a blue turf right on the on the Arctic Ocean there, right on the shoreline. They have a blue turf field that was just installed about a decade ago. That's the Barrow Whalers football program, quite famous. I believe they had a quarterback out of American Samoa a few years ago, or at least a popular player there. I remember watching the documentary on TV. A lot of the houses are kind of risen up, whether they're on stilts or whatever, because a few snows there. It doesn't snow a lot, but the snow's never going away until the summer hits. And the summer is pretty short. This was in early September, so it was just starting to get pretty cool again. And this is sort of the end of the longer days. I like this dog here. Uh, right now, early October or late September, you're going to start seeing dramatically shorter days in Barrow. Um, but here I remember sunset happening around 11, even in over Labor Day weekend. There's Salmon Lee's. That's a popular restaurant there, Chinese restaurant. I believe they have a pretty large menu. I think they have more than just Chinese food. I could be wrong, but I remember it being a huge menu. We ate lunch there, my wife. The Arctic Ocean. You can kind of see the ice bow here. They call them up there. How would you like to have a view of the Arctic Ocean? Your house. Well, Ptarmigan, I believe is how they pronounce those. An array of satellites. Interesting graveyard near the satellites. Save the whales for dinner. Let's take a break from the pictures right now and get into our flight. We'll just do a flight tour. There's actually an airstrip near Point Barrow, which is the northernmost point in the U.S. My wife and I came in for a day trip. We flew from Anchorage. We just got into Anchorage late the previous night, and we flew out early the next morning on Alaska Airlines. It stops in Prudhoe Bay to drop off some workers, and then continues on to then what was Barrow. And then I had a day trip planned. It took us to the Inupiat Heritage Center, which is actually a national park affiliate as well. So you could get your national park stamp there, which is kind of cool because that's a rare one to have in that book if you like doing that kind of stuff. We saw the Barrow football field, Barrow High School football field. There's Barrow. So it looks like they got some of the imagery from the satellite. You could see that like snow or ice on the ground. I'm actually flying this during summertime. I'm not using real time weather here because I want to get a clear view of what's in Barrow. Yeah, the trees aren't part of Barrow. This game was just updated. They just released the update, a lot of changes to Japan. Uh, Obviously, we're seeing trees again. And if you saw my previous video where we went up into the high Arctic of Canada, no, there's no trees up here. It's too cold. The tree line has pretty much not existed for quite a while now, going this far north. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is there, why they're including trees. But let's take a quick gander here. and see what we could see. This is the northernmost town in the U.S. And for those looking to get here, obviously, it's a little tricky now as we're in a pandemic and Alaska tourism. While you can get there, there's a lot of hoops to go through, and especially trying to go to some of these more these smaller communities, these remote communities. Uh, Utqiagvik is pretty large. I'd say a few thousand, what, 4 or 5 thousand is just a guess. But some of these remote communities you could fly to. I've flown to Adak personally, just a couple hundred people, and it's going to be tough. Travel might continue on some sort of basis to major areas of Alaska, but when you think about all these remote areas, and I'm not just talking Alaska, I'm talking about American Samoa, other places that have just been nearly virus free. When is travel going to open up to areas like that? I mean, that's going to be interesting for me. And I'm not saying we should force our way into these places. I'm just saying, as a general thing, I think we're in for a long haul, and it's going to be interesting to see how travel reopens and where to, and how isolated and more isolated some of these communities will be because of this virus. So this is, I put it for typical July clear weather here. And as you can see, there's snow and ice below. I think these are just satellite images that are superimposed. Over here, I think that's the Inupiat Heritage Center. Over here is a grocery store. Looks like there's some administration buildings. This looks about what I remember. There's not much to Barrow. It's bigger than you think. You think you're coming up here and there's not a lot of roads, but yeah, you could drive around for a little while. And there's basically two sides of town, as you can see. Now the football field, I don't see it. It should be right about here, I believe. I don't see it here or down here. It has a beautiful, beautiful view of the Arctic Ocean, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all. That's unfortunate because, it's pretty notable. It stands out. Now we're going to make our way up to Point Barrow, where Will Rogers met his fate. He was up here, I believe, with was it Wiley Post, who also has the airport named after him, and they were on I don't know why he was up here. I don't know if it was just to see the sights of the northernmost part of the U.S., but he perished in a crash here along with Wiley Post, and that's why the airport is named as such after those two men. So on the day trip I took, I didn't want to rent a car because that was too expensive. It was actually cheaper to do the day trip. We got taken all the way up this road. I don't actually remember this airstrip. I guess obviously here. And they drove us to a point. You can go all the way to the point. Excuse me. And the point obviously is right up there, Point Barrow. This is the northernmost point in the U.S. That's as far as you can go. Our tour guide took us around here. He parked here, and we went in here and got some Arctic Ocean sand to take home, which was kind of. But we didn't actually go all the way up to the point. It's protective native land, and he didn't have permission to go up there. There are some tours that do, if you really want to. I would have been cool to be to the absolute point. I didn't know that beforehand that he didn't go up there, but I don't really regret it. At the time when we were let out here, we were the northernmost people in the U.S. at the time. So I was cool enough with that. That was kind of interesting to know that I am standing further north than anyone currently in the U.S. That's a crazy thought to me. I think that sense kind of drives my interest in traveling to a lot of extreme points because you can really define where you are very specifically, and it's so unique. So we were right here. I think that's as far as I got, as far north as I got. I remember this little lake or whatever. Um, let's see. Let's see the northernmost point. I'm not sure. There's the whalebone arch, and we'll come back to Barrow and look for that, which is like a photo opportunity. It's back in town. We'll see if we can find that. It's going to be along the shoreline somewhere. But I don't know if there's any structures out here. It looks like there's a little anomaly right up here. Check that out. I am going to lower my thrust a bit, go down and check it out. I think I'm seeing some trees down there, which is kind of ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to active pause. And this is Point Barrow, guys. This is the northernmost point in the U.S. I am going to active pause here. And see. Those are trees. That is kind of ridiculous. And there's trees up here in a little lagoon. That looks like a boat. Some sort of boat sitting up there. I don't see any buildings or such. There's no real memorial up here. Those are just trees. That's ridiculous, guys. There's no way there should be trees up here. All right, let's turn this plane around. So yeah, at the northernmost point, there really isn't much to see. It's just interesting to be up on this little spit of land up here. I'm going to do a circle back. And we're going to go see if we could see the whalebone arch. It was interesting when we flew to Barrow in September of 2016. We were only planning to be there for one day. So we fly in, get in at about 10:30 in the morning after stopping at Prudhoe Bay on Alaska Airlines. Get our day trip, we go to the Utqiagvik Heritage Center. The guy on our day trip had warned us that if the fog rolls in, the radar systems there at Barrow Airport aren't equipped for handling aircraft and bringing them in safely. So aircraft cannot land if there's too much fog. Well, lo and behold, after we stop at Salmon Lee's, fog rolls in. So we did not have a hotel there in town. So that was my first freak out. I'm like, what kind of hotels are in Barrow? Well, there's the Airport Inn, which we quickly ran to. And it was almost, after taxes, I think $200 for the night. We had no luggage. We left it in our hotel in Anchorage. So now I have 2 hotels booked that night. We had to spend the night, and it was only like a 3-day weekend. We were only going up from, when I was living in Oregon, only going up for a 3-day weekend on JetBlue. And JetBlue only flew through the summer, so this was the last weekend they were flying to Anchorage. So I had to get back. We had to get back. So I was nervous the next morning. Like, we got to get back. We got to get back, or, you know, I'm paying double for a hotel. And thankfully, we got the flight to Fairbanks and back into Anchorage by mid-afternoon the next day. But I did spend a night when I did not plan to spend a night in Barrow, at the time Barrow. And that was interesting. So I have spent a night up here. It's another world. I don't think I'd recommend spending a ton of time up here. There's not a ton to do, but it's an interesting place to be. And if you like extreme places like I do, I mean, why not head up to Barrow? It's not cheap. It's not as expensive as you might think. Actually, got American Airlines code shares with Alaska, and I was able to use some of my American Airlines mileage for my wife's ticket, so she was able to go up there free. My ticket, I believe, was about $700 at the time. Although I've seen it, it depends on the season though. I've seen it as cheap as maybe 450, 500 for me. So maybe it gets cheaper. I don't know. You guys could let me know. I want to look for the whalebone arch. I don't know if I'll get low enough here. Try to get a little bit low. The whalebone arch is a area where it's sort of just for tourists. Take a picture by the Arctic Ocean. You've been to the northernmost place in the U.S. I used to mistakenly think it actually existed in Point Barrow, which we just flew over. No, it does not exist there. It exists back in town. And I believe it is somewhere kind of before town or where the town's in between there up by that lake up there. All right. Let's see what we got here. Zoom in a little bit. Where are you? Whalebone Arch. So I believe this is some old satellite imagery. If the football field's here, this was pre-construction of it. I think it's here. I could be wrong. Please let me know if I am. But I don't see it at all. It's either here. It's after you get out of town. So the whalebone arch should be up in here somewhere. Yeah, I'm just not seeing any detail like that. I would say our best shot now is right in here. As we slowly lose altitude, I'm going to fire up the engine just a little bit. Let's see, where is this thing? You gotta almost see if it's superimposed. It might be this. Is that just a building? That might be it. Ah, this might be it. Let me pause it. Yeah, I believe that is probably it. I could be wrong, but that is probably it. Now, it's not an actual building that's been added to the game. That looks like it was superimposed. If you think that's it, guys, if you're from the area or been up there and could tell me if that is probably it, if that looks right, that might be the actual whalebone arch there. Because that looks like about where it would be, somewhere here. And that's where you see these photos of tourists standing by the Arctic Ocean under the whalebone. I think that's it. Boy, some of the textures do look pretty rough around here. I don't know what that is. I mean, that could be it too. It's hard to tell. I'm just guessing. It could just as easily be over here too. But that was the most unique thing I saw on the shoreline. Well, guys, I think I will stop the video here. I hope you enjoyed seeing the northernmost part of the U.S. If you're not from the U.S., I mean, for me, looking at some countries that have some huge, just span different types of the geographic region. You look at a country like Russia, for example. To me, it's incredibly interesting to see what the diversity in the flora, the fauna of a country. it's just amazing to me that my own country spans this far. Like this is a worlds removed from anything in the lower 48. I mean, it's just, to me, this is just crazy. So uh, I'm just amazed the people who live here carry on through the winters. I mean, I don't know how they do it. Living in Minnesota myself and kind of new to Minnesota, I don't even know how to deal with a Minnesota winter, let alone a Barrow winter, or should I say Utqiagvik winter. So to those residents of Utqiagvik, I salute you because I don't know how they do it. I think next video we'll go to someplace maybe a little warmer as we get into colder weather ourselves in the U.S. So we'll try something a little warmer. And of course, if you have any suggestions of places you want to see me visit, I'd certainly take a look at them in the comments. And I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.